Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we are building a flower shop. Let me show you some images of it. All right, as you can see, this is a fun little kit. It's named after my sister-in-law, Chris. She is a wonderful person and loves flowers. She has a huge flower garden in her backyard. And so in honor of Chris, I named this kit after her. All right, well, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build this kit. All right, we have a lot to do, so let's get to it. Okay, to get started, we're going to cut out our walls and brace them all. And we also need to cut out all of these windows. And again, I always forget, it's easier to see where those little tabs are from the back side. Okay, now that all of our walls are cut out, let's take a file, a couple files. I have a small one, and I'm just filing inside the windows. You don't want any little nubs where you cut out that piece that was in there. Pretty quick. Then make sure you have no little nubs on the sides. You want those perfectly flat. And then again, we'll do the windows. Just be very careful. You don't want to snap the wall. You don't want to break it. But as you can see, this goes pretty quick. Okay, I've braced all of the walls. My advice is the little pieces that are in the center, do those last. What I started with was this wall right here. So one across the top that's even with the top, one at the bottom that's even, and one on each side. All to the edge of the wall. These two. Now it's important you'll notice I have left and right. And B for back. There'll be a diagram in the instructions that show you how to put this on, but on the right side, leave an 1/8. Don't go all the way to the edge, but go all the way to the edge on this side. Then on this one, go all the way to the edge by the window, and on this side leave an 1/8. That way we'll show you. They fit together because of that 1/8 that you left. That goes like that, and that goes like that. So that's the back, and the window is on this side, and the other wall is solid. Okay, then I took two short walls, the front and the back, and I put bracing all the way to the edge on both. Top to bottom to the edge. Then on these two, again top to bottom, but I came in an 1/8 on both sides. Then on these walls, after that was all done, I put in the little pieces in between the windows. I did that because I know a lot of times when I stain my walls, This area in between the windows will either bow out or bow in. It just seems to have a problem there. So I thought, well, I'll just take some extra wood and put it in there. But all the bracing that I showed you, there's enough wood provided in the kit to do all this. Oh, and then I put bracing on these, and I just put a little piece on the back. Okay, now let's get these all stained. And again, we're going to use the stain Raw Umber. And the stain is from besttrains.com. And it's a raw umber. Now, before you stain your walls, if you want to, now is the time to distress them. If you want to add nail holes, if you want to lift some boards. This is going to be a pretty clean building, fairly new. So I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to stain them and then we'll start to paint them. Okay, they're all stained. Now we'll just let these dry before we move on to painting them. Okay, we're going to paint our walls with light avocado. After I painted the walls with the light avocado, I took sea glass and just a drop and a lot of water. I then did a wash over the walls. I just real quick, one direction in one pass over the walls. And it just gave it a faded, like a sun faded look to it. Okay, now we're going to move on to doors and windows. Okay, I was going to spray this entire thing white, but I want some accent color. I want this green on some of it. So what I'm going to do is, I'll show you what I'm going to cut out that's going to get painted green. You're going to want to cut this piece out and paint that green. And then the solid part of these doors. And this one. Okay, and I need to cut this little window out. Okay, so again, you have your wall section, that door, and these two doors. This will get green. All the rest of this you can spray white. I decided to go over this entire sheet with light buttermilk in a sponge. So I just sponged over the entire thing. Okay, now we'll paint these pieces green. So I painted those items green and I just wasn't happy with it. So I then did a wash of sea glass over it, maybe half water, half paint. To me, it almost gave it a bluish, a lightish blue tint. So then after that dried, I did a wash of yellow over it. So I'm pretty happy with this now. We just got to let this dry. And you'll notice these pieces curl up a little bit, but all we got to do is bend them back, flatten them out, so it'll be fine. Okay, while all that's drying, let's cut out our pillars. And what we're going to do is we're going to spray a tan primer on these first, because the edge of it is dark. It's almost black. So we first want to spray it We'll get it all tan, and then we'll paint it white. If we were to paint it white now, it would take multiple coats. Actually, a lot of coats to cover up that darkness. Okay, and we want to take our file and make sure that everything's nice and flat. Here's the tan that I'm going to spray those pillars with. It's great because it's a flat finish. It just gives it a nice base that then we can paint our white. Okay, while we're waiting for those pillars to dry, let's get our corner trim painted with light buttermilk. Okay, all the window frames and door frame are glued on. I almost thought I was missing a window frame, but one is down here, not with the group of them. So keep that in mind when you're putting the kit together. There's a window frame down here and a single window over here that's not with the group. They're the same size. Okay, now what I need to do is take a brush and take the light buttermilk and paint the inside of all of these window frames. Then we'll glue these onto a sheet of acetate, cut them out. I always cut them slightly bigger than the window. That way I can just glue them on from the back and they don't fall through. Okay, I just cut out all of the windows. And I'm going to take a little break from the windows and get back to work on this. Now in the base, there are two pieces right here. A thin one and a thick one. The thin one goes on top of those pillars, like that. And then the thicker one goes on top of that. But you'll see it goes all the way back and covers up the edge. Like now you can see the edge of the laser board in the back. This covers that. Don't glue them together yet. Glue this one on first. I put just a little bit of glue on the top of those pillars. And then the back of this one. And I don't know if you can see it, but right now you can see the edge of the two layers of laser board. Now we'll put glue on the top of this. Okay, so I just painted the bottom, the top, the front. Now I'm going to paint the side, and I'm going to go kind of thick to cover up all the different layers. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting some of our walls put together. All of the windows are finished, and I even got window shades put in. This is a yellow like business envelope that I cut, and then the other side I did a wash of desert sand so it's not so bright. Like this side you can see is really bright, but this side it's toned down a little bit. We'll start with the lower section. So here's the back wall, and then we have our two side walls. So we'll take this one. So again, you want your bracing all the way to the edge. That's the front. And then this side where the bracing's back a little bit attaches to the back wall. Okay, and we'll make sure our front wall fits. Yep, perfect. Okay, let's set this aside and work on the top story. Okay, so we have our front wall. Make sure that it's right side up. Make sure the clapboard is facing the correct direction. Make sure that you're pressing the walls down so that everything is flush. You don't want one wall to be slightly higher or crooked because we have to glue this underneath it. Make sure everything is square on your mat. I've been using my block so I know that everything is square. Okay, this all fits perfect. Now, very important, when you glue this on top of this, make sure that your corners line up perfectly so that when you add your corner trim, it all lines up. I'm going to use white Elmer's glue on this because I want to make sure I have enough time to move it around and position it exactly where I want it. Okay, we're going to be very gentle, but I want to start getting this corner trim glued on. Okay, there it is. And then once we get our storefront image glued in there, we can attach this. Okay, here's our roof card. So obviously the big roof goes on top, and this thin one is for the access shed that we have to build yet. Okay, let's cut this out. And I'm going to show you there's a front and a back to that card. Same with this one. Okay, you'll notice two little tabs sticking up. So the front of it is flush with the front. So there's an overhang on the side, this side, and the back. And there's a decorative piece that we have to make that fits in there. So actually, let's make this first, and we'll get that glued on there, and then we'll put the roof on. We need to paint the underside an off-white and the edges of it an off-white. Okay, let's get this put together. We're just going to take our file and kind of clean up the ends, and then one in the middle here where we cut it out of the piece. Okay, let's take our pencil. How many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so one at each end. I marked every ½ inch, and so that gives us 6 on here. I'm going to go with that. We have an extra one in case we drop it or break it. And then we have the top. There's a wide one and a thin one. The wide one gets put on the face of the building. The thin one gets put on top of it. Now we have to glue these little decorative pieces onto it. And again, I'm spacing them a ½ inch apart. I'll show you up close what this looks like when I'm all done with it. I thought I lost one. I almost did. Yeah, it's a good thing we left one in here just in case. Like if I dropped this on the floor, I'd never find it. So you've got one on each end and 4 in the center. I recommend leaving yourself an extra one just in case. This cornice actually gets glued to the front of the building, down halfway. So just measure down about halfway and it gets glued to the front. It does not get glued directly to the top edge. If you glue it to the top edge, what happens is when you put that roof card on there, you have too much hanging off the back. There's too much overhang. Where if you glue it right to the front and then slide that all the way forward, you have an equal amount of overhang on the 2 sides and the back. Okay, let me get this painted. I'm just going to do a light coat to start with, then I'll go back over it again. I don't want to do a heavy coat to begin with because this is a paper material, so you don't want it to get too wet. You're going to want to paint the whole thing because most of this ends up showing. Okay, so I've got this all painted. Now, what I suggest is taking something that's 1/8 of an inch thick. I just have a piece of bracing here. And you're going to put that right on the front. So it's level on the front. It's just sitting right there. Then we're going to run a bead of glue, along the bottom edge of this, just the lower half. Now we want this to be flush with the top of that stick. Then pull that stick away and make sure that it's centered and straight. And then double check to make sure that your roof card fits. Okay, we'll let that dry. Now we'll paint the underside of our roof card. Okay, the roof card's on. There's equal amount of overhang on the 2 sides and the back. Now we have to add trim underneath that overhang. And the trim is marked with blue on the end. So we'll just take our light buttermilk and sponge that on and then glue these on. Okay, my trim is painted. Now I recommend starting on the back side. Okay. Now it butts up against the back side of this. This hangs over a little bit on each side. And it butts right up against the back of that. And then we'll mark it. Okay, the trim is done. We have some little ends in the back where it was cut. We could dab a little white paint on there. Okay, I cut the store image out and basically taped it to the back. Now We'll glue this in place. Okay, let's get the tar paper on the roof. Then we can build our little shed that goes up on the top. I've got some light gray dry brush paint. We'll do a little bit of dry brushing on there. Okay, now we'll build the little shed. Now, if you remember, we put 2 pieces on there for the bracing. We need 1 more in between, and that is the space that allows that door to fit in there. Now, I did take some scrap and glue it on the bottom, and then it's on the top. So now, then we'll take our door frame, just spreading that glue. Now we have this roof card, and you'll see there's a line engraved on it. That folds, and you can always score it a little more if it doesn't fold correctly. So we'll paint the underside of this white and the edges white, glue that on, and get some black tar paper on there. Okay, I just glued the awning. You just simply fold it. It's all one piece, and there's engraved lines. So you just glue it. The seams there. There's only 2 seams, the angled one there and the angled one there. And I used super glue and held it, and then I use an accelerator to set it. So it just bonds it instantly. And now there's engraved lines on it, so I'm painting some stripes. The yellow is Vallejo. So the orange color on here is Terracotta from Craftsmart. Then I took a sponge and very lightly, it took a while, just go very lightly, build up slowly, because you want to give it a canvas look, like it's material. So I sponged on desert sand. Then I went with light buttermilk. I really wanted to give it a worn look. Okay, I'll just place it on there so that you can see sort of what it looks like. Okay, I found that if you are going to use the awning, I don't think you need to put this big piece on here. It's going to fit better without that. And I've just made a few cuts actually, and I'm going to attempt to remove this. Yes, that fits better. Yeah, if you're going to use the awning, leave that big piece off. Okay, I painted the base. Did a little bit of weathering on it with some pastel chalks. And I painted this. I'll glue this on, glue the awning on, and glue this in front. And then we have to put a couple signs on the sides. I recommend before you glue your flower stand on, hopefully that helps flatten it. Okay, we'll hold it there for a little bit. I just finished putting signs on it. Okay, the only thing left to do is build the fire escape and decide what side we're going to put it on. I think we're going to go with this side. Oh, and I did put the little roof detail on there and painted it. I sprayed it with a dark brown spray paint and then took some gray and did some dry brushing. Okay, here are the parts for the fire escape. Now, you have these two long pieces, which are the side railings, and there's an engraved line in there, and my theory was to have people just fold that, but it doesn't really fold well. So I would actually, you could cut it a little deeper. I actually suggest, I dropped it, cutting them, sorry. There's a line on there, and I just think you're going to have better luck cutting it. Okay, now I'm going to spray this with the reddish brown primer along with the ladders. Then we'll glue it on the structure and then do some dry brushing with some gunmetal gray on it. Okay, they're sprayed. Now, the best way to do this. 1, 2, 3 blocks. I love them. I'll put a link in the description below the video for these. They're just great to get your walls square. They're great for weights. For this, there's a little bit of the sidewalk sticks out, so we can't lay it flat on the workbench. But if we lay it on here, it's great. So this is what I suggest. Lay it flat. Figure out where you want those, and you want them directly above each other. Figure out which one works better at the top, which one works better at the bottom. I'm going to put mine 2 clapboards below the window. Now test fit your ladders. Slide them through. I overlap them because this isn't real accurate, but those ladders would slide. Okay, you might have to just very gently bend your ladder a little bit. Make sure it's straight. Tweezers are going to work the best. Okay, then we'll take this one. Again, bend it gently just to make sure that it's straight. And then we'll test fit it to figure out where we want the glue. Okay, now we'll take some gunmetal gray. All right, it is finished. Let me take the camera off and give you a closer look. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's build. This is a fun kit, and it's currently available on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon member, a paid Patreon member, you receive a discount. And the discount code can be found on my Patreon page at patreon.com/JasonJensenTrains. All right, well, as you can see in the last images, I placed it with two other structures that are also on my website. I think they look great together, and I plan on doing probably two more structures to complete that whole city block. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. A huge, huge thank you to all of my Patreon members. You guys are the best. It's just incredible. As I'm working on these projects, I'm posting photos every single day to my Patreon page. So you get a sneak peek at everything that I'm working on. All right, well, until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.